Good afternoon. My name is Fermin Buitrago Romero. I am student at the UNAT. This is a task for teacher development. The objective of this activity is to recognize strategies to enhance teaching practices. First of all, I want to say excuse me because I couldn't do this task before because of some personal problems, me and mine and from my partners, my partner Natalie Manrique. So that is why I couldn't do this task with her. So I decided to try to avoid committing some lack of respect with my companions, to try to share all some of my experiences because there are some experiences that are common with Natalia, and that's why I try to do this work that way. First topic, peer observation. The first question is, what is peer observation for you, and what's your opinion about this topic? Good afternoon. First of all, I want to say that this year I am not working as a teacher. I was working as a teacher with KFAM 8 years, and for me it was very important this topic because they worked this methodology. Generally speaking, classroom observation could be considered de facto school improvement strategy, since they are typically intended to improve instructional quality and teaching effectiveness, whether they are conducted by fellow teachers or by administrators. We have three kind of different activities. In April was in April, students were the ones in charge to do this activity. In June, a coordinator, academical coordinator, and in September was the last of the activities related to this situation, to this methodology. These were some of the formats they use in order to work this activity. They have to do with three situations: pedagogical activity, personal activity, and some kind of innovation and different other pedagogical situations referring to research. That was one of the formats. This is another in a different year, and the other was different to this. That was used in a different form, but it includes the same situations, personal and pedagogical, and are related to research. In the beginning, I was not so comfortable with this situation because I thought that it was a threatening situation, because I think that my job depended on the results of this kind of analysis. So I was very fearful about the situation. But after 2 years, because I have worked 8 years with them, and at the last, I thought, in the long run, I thought that it was a very interesting situation because I learned too many different methodologies and different techniques and many situations I could use in my classroom because of it. The different points, I mean the students' points, my body's points, my peer points, and the administrators' points of view were very interesting and collaborative, and they were very built up with me because I learned too many things and I have the opportunity to get so much information in order to try to be a better teacher along the time. Second question has to do with what are the advantages of peer observation for teachers? Well, some of the advantages that this peer observation can take into account are, for example, how can I start and end a lesson, a class, in a very attractive way, trying to avoid monotony. Second, for example, how can I allot time within a lesson? How can I assign some task in order for not to be repetitive and boring? How can I deal with a reticent student? What are my methodology in order to try to let him fall in love with the class? How can I organize learning groups, AULIC groups? How can I supervise students while they are learning? What are the different situations that I can improve in order for them to be very, very strong in their methodologies? And another one is how can I ask questions in order not to give the answers very, very easy, but trying to make them think about some situations for them to try to organize their comprehensive lecture and comprehensive listening. Other things that I can work with these formats are, for example, what kinds of questions do I do most often? WH and TAC. What are the importance of these kind of questions for me and for my students? And how can I try to avoid them when they are not accustomed to them? What is the context of my questions? What are the real contents of that questions that I can ask? How does I can wait after asking a question to get a response? Because sometimes the students they have very different times to try to dialogue with us. How does I, as a teacher, give some instructions that it is very important? How much time does it take this part of the class? And do the students know what to do after being given the instructions? Sometimes it was very difficult to start the class speaking English because they were very, very lost in the way, and we were trying to do with these kind of formats the better way to do these activities. And third question is what are the advantages of this peer observation for institutions, and what do you consider that are the more important? Advantages for institutions are some of them are, for example, teachers' time management, because sometimes schools organize too many activities, and this is very uncomfortable for us as teachers, because we don't have time to do a real good work. So it is important to know what is priority and what is not. Another thing is students' performance of tasks. Do they do it? Do their parents do? What is the necessity, the need of this situation? How can we do the best thing for them? The other advantage is time on task. Teacher's action zone. Use of the textbook. Sometimes textbooks are not important for them. They always try to use virtual tools. So it is important to know what are their different interests and needs in order to do things right for them and try to avoid some tasks and activities that are not fruitful, not really fruitful. And the last thing I could think is about pair group work, because it is very important to try to teach students to be very collaborative and try to use teamwork as an improvement of the way they get knowledge and the way they use this knowledge in practical activities. Thank you. Second topic is about teaching portfolio. The first question is the same as with the topic before. What is a teaching portfolio for you, and what are the most important aspects that you take into account to use it? Teaching portfolio is a very interesting and important tool in order to get all of the evidence that we as teachers have gotten along the time. So it is important for us to try to keep and save all of this material that we use, for example, in congresses and activities, in academical meetings. All of this material is the product of getting all of that information in order for me to try to remember many things that we have work. For example, these are some of the evaluations that schools have made me. So it is important for me to try to be up to date and try to improve all of these capacities in order to try to do things better in the next time. So for me, teaching portfolio is a very interesting and important tool. It is the way my job is all of the time organized, and I can use all of this material to try to talk with my peers, to use it with my students, and to try to be a better person and be a better teacher and be a better innovative subject in this job. This is how I see this tool, and it is very important for me. Second question is about what material have you ever used in this teaching portfolio, and what kind of teaching portfolio have you ever used from now? Third question is, do you ever use an electronic teaching portfolio? What are the elements that you use in order to construct one? A portfolio is very important for me. It's very interesting because we could collect all the information that we have in our daily activities. So you could see here, for example, some books that we need to use in the process. Then you could see here some formats of meetings with students, with teachers, with administrators. Some formats of analysis of the different periods in order to contrast and to try to get some plans of improvement. The planillas of the different courses, different material for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 grade that we could use, regular verbs, palindromes, partial cognates, in different little books, lyrics that we have in order to try to get some interesting classes with them, materials for the classroom, bimestrales, guías, CLAY, que es educación para adultos, complementary courses, in English test, evaluations, and so on. Some activities about valores, and all of this material is used for me with the different courses, so it is very attractive to have it close at hand, because we don't have to waste our time looking for this information apart. Last topic is about a teaching journal. What do you think about teaching journal? What are the more important features that has a teaching a journal in order to get success in these kind of activities? I don't really have written a teaching journal, because it was very difficult for me because of the time management. However, I use a kind of agenda in which I take some notes about the topics I have worked with the different schools. So, for example, I try to write down information about autonomous learning, UAP, unidad de aprendizaje, unidad de apoyo pedagógico, evaluations, what is a pedagogical model, what are the roles of parents and teachers and directives in the process of teaching. What are our common proposal with the enterprise, talking about autoimagen, autotelismo, autoestima, autodeterminación, and this kind of characteristics that we need that students have in order to have an excellent process. Some things about Piaget, and these are different activities that we organize at school, and I take those notes in order for me to remember the year, the date, and the people who give me this kind of information. So that's the thing I use. Second question: how a teaching journal helps you as a teacher organize and improve your activities in order to make a better process? Right. Taking into account that the teacher diary is a very important tool where the teacher records what happens in all of the classes, and the thoughts that they have in related to these classes. I think that it is very important to have this kind of documents, because we could analyze teachers' roles, the way, how much does he want to organize the activities, time management, place management, relation with the students. The most important thing is to try to take so much information about skills and the levels of improvement that students have in the class, because it is very important to try to make it as a fruitful activity. So I think it's a very interesting situation that we could use in order to show our weakness, our strengths, and to use it as the base that we could use in order to organize some improvements plans. Thank you. Third question: what are the most important advantages of having a teaching journal? Thank you. The most important characteristics of this teaching journal are, for example, a sequence, a chronological sequence of the students' development and improvement. Some notes about what we have to change and what we have to improve in order to have better classes. Mm, the use of the elements and the resources. We could have it written in order to not to repeat it too much, and try to organize it in a very good way to try to avoid monotony and boring classes. Mm, the other characteristic that I think that is very important is reflections about our moods and the way we organize our classes. We are not all the time. We are not the same. We have some feeling changes, some situations that causes stress, and we have to take into account these notes in order to avoid doing things that could causes some prejudice to students, and I think it is very important. The other thing that it is very important is the way we face knowledge, and the way we try to give them to students. So it is very important try not to to do the same to use the same methodology, because it is very different the way we learn and the way the different students learn. So if we have some notes about the different student style that we have in the classroom, we could use this journal to do things so much better. Thank you.